It's okay for you to fight for the people and things you have love and care for, but it's also important that you have the self-awareness and the understanding of when that fight is no longer worth fighting. And so I never want you to think that it's not okay or that it's not a good thing to, fight for the people you love in your life, fight for the people you want in your life, try and fix and repair and communicate and work through the tough times of the things when times get hard. Everything's not always going to be perfect. Things are always going to go the way in which, you want them to go or how you would like them to go. But, sometimes it just sometimes it just calls for you to, have to work through it. But it's also important to recognize when, it's time to give up, because there is a time when it comes time to give up. There is a time when, it's no longer a fight that's worth fighting, because you have to also recognize that relationships and friendships and things like that, like those are all two-sided things. Like there's never something you can repair on your own. And so it's going to take you and another person fighting. But sometimes you're the only one in that ring. Sometimes you're in a ring boxing yourself. And when I say boxing yourself, I mean you're really throwing punches, fighting for it, but like you're really only battling your own emotions. You're really only battling, your own effort and your own mental drainage and your own emotions and things like that, because you're not getting effort from another person. You're not receiving that support. You're not receiving that help. And so, you really only end up damaging yourself in the long run. And I've realized that when you hold on to things, you just damage yourself longer and you prolong your ability to let go. Because imagine when you're the only one in the ring fighting and you've been putting in all this effort and all this work, and then, it comes a time where you realize like it's time to quit. If you didn't come to that realization earlier, like had you come to that realization earlier, you wouldn't value it as much, or it wouldn't be as hard to let go. So when you've been in the ring for so long and you're fighting yourself and you're fighting and you're putting in the effort and things like that, by the time you finally let go, it's harder to let go of, because you've already invested so much energy into it. And so it's like you've dedicated your life to it. You've dedicated years, months, whatever, to fighting for something that, you could have been let go a long time ago. I think it's important to realize, like, pay attention to people's actions. Pay attention to, what exactly you're fighting for, and if it's actually fighting for you. Because some of us, we're so caught up in the idea of what we want, the idea of thinking, oh, we could fix certain things on our own. We can manipulate other people's emotions and to getting them to like us and to getting them to value the situation and to getting them to put in effort and things like that. But you have to realize, like, other people's actions, other people's emotions, feelings, all those things are out of your control. And when you constantly hang on to the hope, or you constantly hang on to that expectation, you constantly hang on to who they could be and things like that, what the situation could turn into, you're really only going to end up, again, hurting yourself, because your expectations not going to be getting met. You're going to be fighting for something and not seeing those results and just getting frustrated with the situation as a whole. And it's just emotionally going to drain you. It's going to mentally drain you. And you're going to feel it, because you're going to wake up every day with this idea in your head or this plan in your mind to, be able to execute your actions in a certain way. But then you're not receiving that in return. It's like you're trying to do something and hope that it gets you something in return. You're giving your best to a situation and hope that you receive the best back or receive something in return. And so when you receive that nothing in return, you're just wasting all this energy for nothing. And so sometimes you just have to realize, like, okay, this fight is no longer worth fighting. I now have to allow myself to let go so that I can heal and I don't damage myself any further. Because you also have to realize, like, people are their own person. And so some people will have gone through their own traumas, their own experiences, their own beliefs. They have their own mindset and things like that. They have their own way in which they view the situation. And it's like there's all these different factors that determine other people's actions that we have absolutely like no control of. I think sometimes we try so hard to try and fix people or to try and get them to see the situation from the way we're seeing it. But sometimes you just have to allow people to like be who they are and understand that, the person you are right now, everything, your mindset, your approach towards the situation, that's not who I need you to be right now. Or that's not, ideal for what I want out of the situation. Like sometimes y'all could just be at completely different stages as far as like the value you place on the situation. And that's okay. That's not to say that anybody's right or wrong. It's just to say, like, you have to choose to move in the way that's best for you rather than the way that you want you want the situation to go. Like, sometimes you have to, again, have that willingness to let go where you recognize what's best for you in the moment, even if it doesn't get you the result that you actually want out of this situation. And that's okay, because people have their own different traumas. They have their own different experiences. They have their own different way of viewing the situation. And some people don't see that situation as, willing to change for. Some people don't have space or the time or the, proper tools to be able to put into that situation what you're able to put in. Sometimes people are at different stages of their life from where you are. And so it's like you might have this positive mindset or this way of viewing it or this perspective or this solution essentially. But, other people don't see it that way. And so it's like, they're thinking from a completely different standpoint of like where they are currently in their life, what they might be going through, what all might be running through their head, what, they're valuing at that moment in time. And it's like you're just on two completely different standpoints and viewerships of the situation. And it's like you won't get out of it what you're willing to put in because that person's just not on the same frequency essentially as you. Again, that's okay because, people are going to be who they are. People, you can't change people into somebody they don't want to be. You can't change people into somebody they aren't ready to be. You can't change people into somebody they don't have the space to be in this moment because, again, there's two sides to a story. And so sometimes people are going through things. Sometimes people, don't have the emotional intelligence, don't have the emotional sustainability or the ability to fight through the hard times. And, that's okay. Like, I think sometimes we get so frustrated with who we want people to be and wanting ourselves out of other people, expecting people to automatically view a situation how we view it, that we overlook that, this person has their own life. This person has their own past. This person has their own way of living their life that isn't always going to be exactly how we live our own. We have our own understanding. We've gone through our own growth. We've gone through our own experiences that has led us into being the person that we are. And this person has their own story. And sometimes those stories are completely different to where you're at different stages and different levels of life when it comes to emotional maturity, when it comes to emotional intelligence, when it comes to, how you handle your fears, how you handle, your past and things like that. And whether you allow your past to dictate your present or your future and things like that. And so it's like you have to have the ability to zoom out and you have to have the ability to like see it from both angles and both perspectives. Not saying that it doesn't hurt, not saying that, it's going to be an easy situation to just let be or let go. But, sometimes when you could zoom out and gain the understanding, you understand that, it's not your fault. It's not for you to blame yourself on. It's not on you for how the situation plays out. Sometimes it's just a matter of that's just how it's going to be because of, where we are in the situation, the type of people that we are at these stages of our lives. And that's okay. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with myself. It doesn't mean I need to change. It doesn't mean, I need to blame myself for how everything played out. It doesn't mean that, I should blame the other person. I should get mad at the other person. I should have this resentment towards them. Sometimes you just have to understand that, they're where they are in their life and they're that person and they have things to grow through. They have things to develop and they have, their own things to overcome, challenges to overcome. I'm where I am. I see the situation how I see it, and I can't worry or drain myself trying to figure out or trying to force them to see it how I see it or trying to get them to be somebody that they're not or trying to get them to put in effort into something they don't see worth putting effort into at this stage in their life. And, I have to become okay with that and allow myself to move forward and allow yourself to, start going through that process of healing if it's necessary or just like find that peace that you might be looking for. Sometimes it's not even a thing you need to heal from. Sometimes it's a thing you have to let go off your shoulders. Not everything has to do with, us being afraid of letting it go, but just knowing when it's time to let go. I think, sometimes we feel this lift, or we feel this heavy weight lifted off our shoulders when we start trying to make everything our own responsibility to fix, and just like allowing people to not taking responsibility for other people's lives, other people's decisions, and not trying to always change the people around us. Because again, when you're the only one in that ring fighting, you really just end up damaging and draining yourself. And, I think it's also important to just carry the mindset that, like, if you're a believer in God, that, like, if God does choose to remove certain people from our lives, or people end up getting removed from our lives, or certain things end up ending or not turning out the way we want them to turn out, having that faith and having that trust that, that's the best situation that's for us at this moment in time. And hey, if God wants this person to be in our life, if God, if they truly are meant to be in our life, like we may have that idea we may have made in our own head, then he'll bring them back to us, and it'll work out in the end. But it's like when you get so caught up in forcing things to be your way, you miss out on where God could be trying to direct you, where God might need you elsewhere in your life at this stage of your life. Sometimes we need to grow ourselves. Sometimes we need to become better. Sometimes we're at a different stage of our life where, what we want to value isn't what we need to be valuing. And, God needs to build us up into who he needs us to be in order to, be ready to value the things in which we're trying to value, or to be able to, take care of the things in which we're trying to value. So whether that's relationships, whether that's certain friendships, sometimes we're not the person we need to be for that situation to work out, for that situation to be what it's meant to be. And so it's like, sometimes God might need us to deal with other people, meet other people. Sometimes he needs to take us through a journey of isolation, a journey of being on our own, a journey of getting to understand ourselves better, a journey of where we don't depend on other people for our own happiness and things like that. Like, we're just always at different stages of our lives, and we never truly know what's going to work out or what the future holds for us if we're not willing to let go of what we're clinging on to and what's holding us down. You can't step into a new life when you're constantly hanging on to your past, an old one that is already draining you, that is already bringing more chaos into your life than it does peace, that is already holding you back from being able to move forward and step into the new things and the new opportunities and the new people that might be out there for you. A lot of you guys question, like, when is it time to let go? How do I know? Because you're making up all these excuses and you're hanging on hope, and you're just wishing for the best. You're hoping that somebody can be the idea you created of them, or who they once were, or, value the situation how you value it. You're trying to prove yourself and things like that. But, realizing when people bring more chaos into your life than they do peace, when people drain you more than they do energize you, I would say that's when it's time to let go. Because again, people are going to be whoever they choose to be, and you can't force anybody to be anybody who they don't care to be. And when you get stuck on that and trying to, force things, then that's when you're going to find yourself draining yourself and staying in situations longer than you should be. But, I appreciate you guys for tuning into the video. I hope you learned a lot, or a thing or two at least. Be sure to join up on our self-discovery community in there. Just dropped a bunch of new exclusive videos in there, so be sure to check it out down in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notices. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.